Good afternoon, guys. I'm Tim Chang with Mayfield Fund. I'm going to be talking a little bit quickly because I got to try to get through a lot of material and I only have 25 minutes. But my goal is to share with you as much of our learnings from our marketplace and commerce portfolio companies to give you hints on how to build stronger marketplace and commerce companies. Hopefully this will work. Mayfield, a quick bit about us. We're actually a really old firm. Mayfield's one of the first venture capital firms, been around almost 50 years, 18 funds, about almost $3 billion under management, have done over 500 deals dating back to Atari, Genentech, all that sort of thing. Quite a few M&As and IPOs. Companies of ours you may have heard of, from ServiceMax, and Marketo, SolarCity, et cetera, but the more recent ones would be companies like Lyft. We were the Series A investor back when it was called Zimride, Poshmark, Red Beacon, which was an early marketplace, sold to Home Depot, Massdrop, Grove Collaborative, ClassPass, KiwiCo. So we've seen quite a bit on both commerce and marketplaces, and I want to share with you some of our thoughts on what they've been doing on innovation, and hopefully these will be some hints on the playbook you can use for your own businesses. So the areas of investment, I lead the consumer area. This is the future of work, the rise of the freelancer economy, the future of shopping, what happens with commerce, especially when consumers become the curators, tastemakers, and merchandisers, the future of what's going on with health and wellness on the consumer side, media and marketing, how we entertain ourselves, new platforms like VR and AR, and what's going on with smart homes. In terms of the really interesting trends we're seeing, this is something that we're big on, this notion of not just e-commerce, but the future shopping being me-commerce, highly personalized, highly curated for what you're looking for. One big thing people ask me is there any room left in commerce? It's been kind of a cold sector, right? Because Amazon wins everything. Yes, Amazon, Alibaba get 50% of the e-commerce pie, but it's a big and growing pie. Sorry, there's a bit of feedback going on here. Can we tune down there we go. Amazon wins if you know exactly what SKU you want, but the good news is that's only half the time. Half the time you don't. And when you're searching for something like red shoes or a desk, you don't want hundreds of pages of product listings. You want a few personalized things that are curated, and that curation can be by computer or human being. And a lot of people have been saying, yes, it's retail apocalypse, but we think that there's going to be a rebirth of indie boutique retailers and e-tailers, sort of a renaissance in what's going on with retail. Also, the notion of a traditional customer or audience gives rise to enthusiasts and communities. They have as much to say about your product and brand, maybe even more than you do, and it's important to have a two-way conversation there. We're also seeing the rise of direct-to-consumer native brands and the race for direct consumer relationships, not just getting disintermediated by Google or Facebook or Amazon, but having a direct relationship with your customers. There's also a theme I think a lot about. If you guys remember what happened in the ad network world a few years ago, advertising became an exchange, a marketplace. Any advertiser could advertise on any publisher site anywhere. The same thing is happening in commerce, and we call this commerce automation. Imagine any brand can sell any SKU through any storefront, and that storefront could be a blog, it could be a chatbot, it could be Instagram, it could be a YouTube account. And so we're seeing the back end have the same transformation as what happened to the ad tech world with a commerce automation world. Thanks to the dropship economy, anybody can sell anywhere and fulfill virtually there. So that's really powerful in terms of what a storefront even is. With the millennial mindset, we're also seeing a lot of things where we might be entering sort of the post-consumption era. For millennials, access is more interesting than ownership. I'm going through this myself. How many of you are trying to purge all the crap you own these days, right? Experiences is more valuable than stuff, right? Stories are more powerful than brands. Purchases are not just utility or for value, they're personal branding moments. It's why you go to Whole Foods and you buy that $30 honey made by bees that practice tantric yoga in Portland, so that when you buy it, you put it on the table and somebody asks you, and then you can say, aha, the story behind these bees that practice tantric yoga is blah, blah, blah. It's a personal branding moment. These brands actually are owned by the user community, not by marketers. Their say is more important than what your product managers say about it. And we look now at tribes and not market segments. One of the gists of this is everything has to be postable, because the young consumer's life is everything is awesome all the time. If you can't post on Instagram, it doesn't count. So with this, we also see the rise of freelancers, digital nomads. So everybody's moving towards this sort of free-form economy. And one thing we see with future marketplaces, James Currier is probably one of the smartest minds out there. He's been speaking here today. He has always had this phrase that we take to heart. Good marketplaces provide tools for sellers, and these sellers come for the tools, but they stay for the network, meaning you're giving them SaaS-like workflow tools that help them run their business on your marketplace. Ideally, you're giving them for free or some light SaaS on it. some SaaS fees. But if you're doing your job as a marketplace, you're bringing more liquidity to sellers than they could get on their own. That's why they'll stay there. And that's what he's always said, you stay for the network, the additional buyers that come to that marketplace. So we have a big focus on these network marketplaces. They typically organize a lot of fragmented, often local services. They're really empowering indie and SMB vendors with these tools and technologies, these workflow tools we talked about. They're also giving this on-demand access and extreme convenience to consumers. You take a busted process and make it just one click simple. You know a marketplace is doing its job when it's not just organizing a fragmented marketplace, but it's actually increasing the size of it. You expand the market size by bringing would-be new service providers to it, as well as consumers that haven't used the service before. You do this with trust, intelligence, and adding more volume to that network. So where are the startup opportunities? You know how we talked about, yes, Amazon, Ali owning 50 cents. The other 50 cents is when you don't know exactly what you want to buy. So half the shopping experience is for entertainment. It's when you want to discover things. It's for self-expression. It might be for artisanal or custom goods, maybe used goods and collectibles. Anything you can't buy on Amazon. And something we're really big on is the notion of personal concierge-led recommendations. It's kind of like back to that model where when people lived in villages or in ancient cities, your local merchant knew everybody by first name. They knew your history, they knew your family, they knew how to recommend things to you. I think we're seeing a return to that, powered by both machine learning as well as human concierges and the community itself. There's also these post-consumption models as sharing networks, try before you buy, rentals, etc. And that's going to fit the millennial mindset as well, because not everybody wants to own stuff all the time. Owning things leads to a lot of responsibility, and your possessions actually become your prison. That's what I've learned anyway. And this is where startups should focus. So our playbook, it started off with what we call the 3 C's: content, curation, community, and commerce. And the thing is, back in the e-commerce and marketplace 1.0 days, companies would just focus on one of these aspects. You might just be product reviews. You might just be content or a blog on what's cool out there. You might just be a marketplace that sold goods. But the next generation marketplaces and companies do all 3 of these things. It's very interesting because it's kind of like you're running an in-house magazine, a marketplace, and your own Reddit all at once. It's a lot to undertake. It's like 3 mini companies in one. But if you pick a vertical, ideally kind of a passion vertical of products or services, people really go deep and geek out on that, and it's very defensible. You might not be able to do a lot of categories with this model, but one way I think about it, do you remember when you used to go to Borders or Barnes & Noble, and the magazine stand had all the magazines of different vertical interests? Each one of those is ripe for doing sort of this consolidated 3C vertical place, right? And so that's something we're looking at, being able to combine all 3 of these C's. Now, there's another 6 emerging C's I want to talk about that have popped up in the last few years. Crowdsourcing. Can your enthusiast customers act as your merchandiser or buyer? Can they even help you design the products that they want to buy? Our company, Massdrop, has done this. They don't just have customers. These are the kind of geeks who hang out on subreddits, homeavforum.com. They debate with each other. What are the best products? What are the best features? They even talk about how would we make this better. Massdrop productized that, turned those people into product designers, fed that feedback back to makers like Naked and Famous Denim or Sennheiser, and basically had them tweak their product for what the consumers wanted. And they pre-sold these things on kind of a drop basis. And it's really interesting, this notion of your enthusiast customers know so much about the product, they are even more knowledgeable in the brand themselves, and you can harness that. Second, you can even tie that together with crowdfunding or pre-sales. When a new product is about to drop, customers will pre-aggregate demand, and they might even pre-fund it before you even build the product. That's really nice because you don't have as much inventory risk. This fits really well with these passion products that have episodic drops, like sneakers, fashion, etc. H&M, Adidas, they've trained us on this sort of product drop-like schedule and cadence. Third is, if your consumers are a community, they even want to transact with each other. They want to do buy, sell, trade with each other, and you could have a C2C marketplace. Poshmark had this very much so, when Poshmark is very much women using the app 20 times a day to play buy, sell, trade, my closet with each other. And that part got quite interesting because that meant it was a hangout and not a place that you had to constantly send coupons and offers to. That's one of the biggest things that kills commerce and marketplace companies, the need to constantly send coupons, promotion, paid advertising just to get them to come back. If you turn your site or app into a hangout that people want to be at all the time, debating, showing off what they know about the products, it becomes like the mall, a hangout and a place to see and be seen, and you reduce your acquisition and re-engagement costs. Fourth, concierge and coaching. All of us have way too many product choices. I'm actually a believer that many of us would rather offload our decisions to someone else to make for us. Quick example, if you decided you wanted to go paleo this year, would you rather go through Whole Foods and track down every item that's paleo, or would you have a trusted meal kit service that basically would send you what to eat? It's kind of how Hollywood stars do it. They have nutritionists that do this, but now we're seeing these services democratized to everybody. I'm a believer that in this era where we have too many choices and not enough time, we're going to be more willing to outsource decision making for concierge and coaches. Trunk Club did this in fashion. We're seeing Poshmark now with personal stylists on in our portfolio. We're going to see more of that. And what's really cool, that concierge or coach could be a human agent, the community, or a bot. It might not matter for as long as it does its job well. That leads to this next area of conversational commerce. China, well, government really didn't let them do a whole lot of freedom of speech or social media. So while we were spending time building Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, they were rebuilding the entire internet inside WeChat. They're now ahead of us. So study what's going on in the WeChat ecosystem there. See how messaging, chatbots are rapidly evolving what's going on in commerce. So I think we're playing catch up to them, and they're an interesting roadmap of how we'll build more and more commerce and services into messaging natively, whether that's Facebook, WhatsApp, etc. Lastly, cryptocurrency. Obviously, blockchain's red hot right now, but we are seeing how blockchain can actually revolutionize what's going on with, for example, supply chain. So you don't have fake goods, or you can see that the items that you are sourcing from are tied to legitimate sources. We'll even see loyalty programs built on blockchain so that you might have tokenized rewards and coin that you could spend for things. Something I think a lot about, this will be the year we have the test of big incumbent companies battling crypto native companies. Which would you rather use? Would you use Wikipedia coin or Everpedia? Would you use Reddit coin or Steemit? These will be some interesting things to see. The power of first-party products and services. If you are a marketplace only selling stuff that Amazon and others sell, you are going to be stuck with low margins. That's a tough business. That's why a lot of e-commerce 1.0 companies had only 1 to 2x GMV multiple on the revenue they sold because they had low-quality revenue. What we're looking for these days is marketplaces that can start to slowly weave in private label as well as first-party products that they own and are differentiated. If you can't buy that on Amazon, that's a reason for people to come back to you, and it will also give you higher product margins and an overall higher blended margin on your business. There's another cool model that we call virtual first-party brands. There are now makeup companies that can find things on AliExpress, get them in wholesale, bring them over, put their own sticker on it, and that's a hybrid virtual first-party product. Because most consumers wouldn't take the time to go search through thousands of listings on Ali to find that new glitter gloss makeup, right? So there's ways to even source directly from overseas manufacturers, put your own label on it, and treat it like a virtual first-party product. Thing is though, you sometimes want a mix of first and third-party products. If you only have your own first-party products, you might not have enough selection to keep people there. If you have curated third-party products, you'll get a bigger chunk of that spend in that category. In other words, more share of wallet for that category by that customer in that area. So that's something we're looking at to increase your average basket size. So some key metrics. Quality of revenue directly relates to what is your gross profit, and the ultimate litmus test is your contribution margin. Gross margin is one thing, but the harshest test is contribution margin. That's factoring in returns, logistics, all those other things in there. Why does contribution margin matter? It's a measure of the quality of your revenue and also directly ties to your payback period on your cost of acquisition. Cost of acquisition on your paid marketing, that can kill you because sometimes if your payback period is too long, that means the faster you grow revenues, the more you're burning acquiring those customers and the longer it takes to pay that back. On a contribution margin basis, a world-class company can pay back its CAC within 6 months or less. An incredible company can do it on first purchase, but generally usually takes 2 or 3 purchases, and if you can do it under 6 months, that's pretty strong. The other metric then is, okay, you've recovered your cost of acquisition, what's it take to double that CAC investment? If you can do it in 12 to 18 months, you're top decile in the field. We're also looking at recurring revenue models that give more forecastability, as well as not just subscriptions, but ways to do creative bundling, for example, family plans, buy one, get one free, et cetera, that can lead to more visibility on future revenue and higher average order value. Quick stat for you, this is a behavioral economics hack, but on your checkout page, if you have the base default as a bundle with a few accessories and a few extra options, most people are too lazy to change it, especially for a new product category. So we've seen that time and time again with our companies. Make your base checkout option a bundle that's got the extra battery, the extra case, et cetera. Most people will just take it, and that's pure margin to you. Ideally, if you are a marketplace with first and third-party goods, if you can hit a 50-50 blend on your revenue mix, you're looking at much higher contribution margin of the business overall. So instead of being stuck at 7 to 10% contribution margin selling, third-party goods, you could be up there at 20, 30, 35% plus overall contribution margin for your business, and that is a really healthy figure. Some other ones, organic versus paid traffic. Paid traffic is the ultimate drug. Try not to be an addict. If you can, drive for 50% of your traffic organically. It's not always possible to do that, but that's the key if you can. You want also paid acquisition through multiple platforms. Do not be reliant on just Facebook. Yes, it's the most effective right now, but there's so many other little areas now, whether it's Reddit, Nextdoor, Instagram, et cetera, UGC stories that you want to find those additional channels from. You want large market opportunities. It shouldn't be too hard to imagine that you can do $1 billion GMV in the areas you're focused on. And then these days we're looking a lot at customer engagement mechanics. How often, not just sales, not just clicks, but also are they interacting with each other? Are they talking via chat to buyers or concierges? Are they engaging in messaging with them, whether it's SMS or Facebook Messenger? And then most of all, can you turn your customers into a community? If they're hanging out, sharing their stories, their testimonials, generating content, talking to each other, that's a really good sign. And it saves you on reacquisition, re-engagement costs. So we're at the 5-minute mark here, but I'm going to open it up for any questions that folks might have. There's actually some more materials, but I'm not going to have time to get to it. Well, if not, I can try to jump through some of the other stuff really quick. All right, so companies used to pitch us saying, we're doing 100 million top line revenue. We deserve a huge multiple on valuation. Thing is, Wall Street has gotten pretty smart on this, and we're looking at quality of revenue. So it's all down to gross profit run rate now. That's how we value things. So some really key trends that you could use. Machine learning is all the rage. The reason why is proprietary data and AI talent is the new oil and gold. Those are the scarce resources. If you can quickly get a team member or two, not just on data science, but working on machine learning so that you can extract and model off the data, you can do mass segmentation on all your customers, develop your archetypes for their personas, and figure out what it is that they want. If you can do that, it's the old Cambridge Analytica playbook, but on commerce and marketplaces, okay? Voice as a platform. Yes, Apple's Siri was the spark, but Alexa is absolutely further ahead right now for voice to go mainstream. Existing behaviors are initial adoption, search, commerce, transactions, but these young users are creating these new apps and behaviors from games to whatnot that we're going to see here. So I think we're going to enter an era where we pretty much have the Jarvis from Iron Man in your home, or a computer from Star Trek, or my personal favorite. I would love ScarJo being my OS, like in the movie Her. But how to translate your chatbot or commerce workflow into voice will be a very interesting automation flow for you to look at. This works for not just messaging, but also voice. Conversational interface, this is the same thing we talk about bots as the post-app app. It's because the net new app downloads after people configure their phone is 0. Also, a really interesting trend that one of our companies, Edison, found, Google is losing to marketplaces for product searches. Young users no longer go to Google for most product searches, they go right to the marketplace itself. If that's the case, that's a really good place for you to engage your customer in a conversation, in a messaging or chat format, right? Again, customers don't know if they're chatting with man or machine. They may not care for as long as that conversation is going well and is curated for them. But what's really special about chatbot-based commerce, and I spoke about this at Shop Talk yesterday in Vegas, the chat thread has a perfect memory. It remembers the context, it remembers who that user is, what all the purchase history is. So as a result, you can save time not having to do re-login, not having to ask, what's your customer ID, what did you buy last? The entire thing is in that thread. So if you can get those integrated into your CRM, your ERP, your Zendesk, all of that, the context provides incredible customer satisfaction. Last slide, I'm doing a lot of health and wellness. Concierge is important because we need this stuff to save us from ourselves. The problem with on-demand, everything available all the time is analysis paralysis. You have way too much to decide. Our next phase away from this, in this abundance era, is to offload decisions and decision-making to concierges and bots to save us from ourselves. So this is kind of something I think a lot about, is how we use this technology. And then lastly, I'm big on this sort of notion of AI augmented humans. Yes, AI will replace a lot of jobs, but done right, Imagine your sales agent or customer support agent able to support 10x more people because it has chatbot, it has message templates, it has automation, scaling their ability to service customers both pre-purchase, during purchase, and post-purchase. That's the part that we're really interested in here, and what you should think about using for your business. There are now going to be AI training as a service that you could plug in as easy as a Twilio. There'll be even AI-based, customer service forces like ASAP and other startups out there that you could plug in. So it's not just tools like Intercom or Zendesk, but even automated sort of AI-style workforces you can recruit. I think we're at time.